I think if we frame it as is the issue the legal one, do companies pay tax because they must, or the moral one, do companies pay tax because they should? Actually, neither of these are quite the right question. The question is how much tax do companies owe? And when we get to that point, we see that the real difficulty and the problem that underlies the whole set of issues is to do with the problems of translating economic concepts into things that are actually operational from the point of view of tax collection and tax inspection. Now, it's actually quite difficult to translate a simple economic idea like income or wealth or consumption into something that tax people can actually administer. But having said that, some things are easier than others. Wealth is almost hopeless. Profits is quite difficult. Income is easier. Employment income is a lot easier than investment income, savings income. Consumption is relatively easy. That's why actually the tax base has become more and more focused on consumption and employment income, which are indeed the two things that are fairly easy to measure. Now, if we look at the whole set of issues in that kind of framework, we start to see that what's happening is that we're being undermined in our capacity actually to make operational some of the economic concepts. Profits are difficult, and profits have the added difficulty for a company that operates internationally of deciding where profits actually are earned. And that isn't a question that has a right or wrong answer. Now, how do we respond to these kind of things? Well, several ways. One, which we've all seen, is you end up with ever more complicated tax rules as you try and implement these kind of underlying concepts. Another is that you give a lot of discretion as to how these things are implemented. But the trouble with giving discretion in the tax area is it tends to open up things to lobbying and negotiation and to international competition to attract tax revenues. Yet another is to try and use kind of proxies. The classic example that everyone knows was when people tried to tax wealth 2 centuries ago by having a window tax. And in a sense, a mansion tax is the same version of that. And nowadays, looking at turnover as a way of getting at firms' profits is another way of using a proxy to try and get at what you're really doing. And what I think we have to do in the end is to try and construct tax bases that are relatively robust to this kind of activity. And I think the truth is that, for example, tax on company profits is probably just in future going to be too difficult actually to levy charges effectively on. I think we have to ask serious questions about whether tax on corporate profits is a structure that works anymore, given the complexity of modern financing arrangements and the internationalization of the operations of many companies. And where that takes one to, I think, is basing tax on cash flows going through and out of the corporate sector, rather than on some computation of profits within it.